little bit, hey, baby, just a little bit. Just a little bit. This love, just a little bit. I ain't gonna do you wrong. Why you go? I ain't gonna do you wrong. Put people in. I don't wanna. All I'm asking, all the respect me just a little bit, baby, just a little bit. Just a little bit, just a little bit. I'm about to give it all my money. I'm asking, time, honey. Forgive me my problems when you get home. Good afternoon. It is Friday. Happy Friday, Dr. Andrews.
Great evening to you. Well, wherever you are, let's just say greetings.
Greetings.
That's glad to be here.
Welcome everybody to a talk about respect. And I am excited to introduce Dr. Monica Andrews to you. Dr. Andrews is originally from Washington, D.C., and she's a proud Hampton University alumnus. She wrote several books, but today we're here to talk about her book, Respect. And so, Dr. Andrews, I'd like to start off with hearing you tell us a little bit about your book.
Thank you so much. You know, I just love working with you, Mr. Terry Carter. You are the best, the best. Thank you for setting all this up. This could not be done without you. So, yes, a little about the book. Funny enough, and we've known each other way back. So you even lived a lot of this. It's kind of interesting. But you know, I had a hard time as a teenager with my mother. She'd always say to me, "You don't respect me. You're not respecting me. You know, you don't respect yourself," with the decisions that I was making, okay, as a teenage girl in Washington, D.C. And I never understood what that meant. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? I'm not respecting you. Like, what am I supposed to do to show you that I'm respecting you? It did not connect, I didn't understand it. It's such an intangible word, and such that my mother didn't know either, okay? So she never answered that question. And as I got older and I recognized that word respect and what happens with it, I recognized that it's different. It's different everywhere. It's different across cultures, across generations, even between my mother and my grandmother. My paternal grandmother and my maternal grandmother, the same one that raised my mother. It was different. So here we are, fast forward, and God put on my spirit is, you know, to write something about that. So, because I'm sure there are other people that recognize that it's different. Like respect is different, and what actually does it mean? And how can we as people operate and work together and respect and love each other with that? So that's how the book came about. Yeah, for some clarity, for people being able to really think about we are different and respecting the differences, but also being open to recognizing that so we can move forward and work together in peace and harmony.
That is wonderful. You know, you ask a lot of insightful questions in your book. One of the questions that really stuck out for me was, do we really truly know what it means to respect ourselves? Because as you mentioned in your book, respect comes from your foundation, right? It starts at home typically. And so, but there's a point in time where you really need to show respect for yourself. And so I encourage our guests to also answer that question. You know, what do you feel like? How does it feel for you when you think about respecting yourself? And Dr. Monica Andrews, could you expand on that? You know, what were you trying to get across to us in your book about respecting ourselves?
Oh, wow. Yeah. So that's the biggest thing, is respecting yourself. And a lot of times we don't even realize the actions that we take that show us that we're really not respecting ourselves, because we don't think about it like that. Again, it's just not something that's talked about, that's recognized as such. And even though it's said that, I mean, something as simple as and, we're adults here, so we're gonna talk about this, okay? So being a female, and again, my father, he was a what are you, chivalry is dead. He's like, no, it's not. My father used to make me get out. When I would open up the car door, we would drive somewhere, go to the mall or whatever. I open up the car door to get out the car. He would, Monica, you get back in that car. He would make me, okay, get back in the car so we can come around and open up the car door for me. Okay, and I'm like, I don't need you to open up the car door for me. I can do this myself, right? So when I look at that, though, that's a sense of like he was respecting me as his daughter, as a female, as a woman. He was showing me how I'm supposed to be treated. Me, like, butting heads saying, no, I need to open my own door. You understand? So it's like, wow, when you look at that and the level of respect that he was giving me, he was actually teaching me at that time. Okay. Now, I was challenged by it. Okay. It took me years, like I can say over a decade, to connect everything up to that. But it took me that long. Like it says, has lost access to the Facebook account. We just got something come up. Click here. I'm doing some behind the scenes things too, y'all. So work with us. But good. I think I clicked on something. Good. So anyway, that level of respect, respecting yourself, it's like, okay, wait a minute. If someone else is going to give me that, why wouldn't I look at myself that way and know that I'm worthy of that and draw that boundary for so? Yeah. And because of that, yeah, that's how I got in the marriage with my soulmate versus all the dating that I did throughout in my first marriage and so forth. Yes. You understand? I didn't use those boundaries, those measures of how I choose to be treated. So that's the thing is, we actually do that. We create and set up boundaries and scenarios and situations for people to treat us a certain way.
Absolutely. And, you talk about, so you've established your boundaries, but there's a point where you have to learn how to make people hear your voice. And so how do we do that?
Well, it's funny, like you say, make people hear your voice. It's funny. So, and it's funny that you actually said it that way, because one thing I know for a fact, we can say things all day long. But a lot of times we find ourselves saying things, but we're doing something totally different. So now we're saying something different. Okay. That's where the boundary comes in. I think the mere fact that my father would make me go back each and every time, it didn't matter what door it was. If it was the car door, if it was the mall door, he'd be like, Monica, come back here. You get me? Every time. So when we are putting ourselves in positions to be treated with respect, okay? And again, respect is different for everybody. The thing is that we make sure that we allow people to come to our line, respect. Now, that means what comes out of our mouth may not be what we do. So I think that's the key thing is doing it. So I already said you would not look. I would not date a man before I got married. Now I would not, and even if something happened to my husband, at this point I would not date a man if he didn't come to the table, Terry. Okay, already knowing that he needs to open up the door for me. Okay, already knowing that. I don't have to tell him that. I don't have to teach him that. He's coming with that. And again, it's not right, wrong, good or bad. It's just my level of, if I'm going to put myself in an intimate relationship like dating, you understand? Man, so yeah, that's one of the things that I would have for myself. Yeah. So we all.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I guess what I hear you saying is that your actions need to match your words.
That's it. That's it. Exactly. That's it. So that means I wouldn't settle for that. That's the thing is, you decide you don't want to settle for it. Yeah. If you don't want people lying to you, for the lies, don't stay up in the drama, if you will. You get me? Of the lies.
That's right.
Yeah, So that's a level of respect. Is telling me the truth. You understand? Regardless of how hard it is, as that's the whole thing. So yeah. Yes.
I liked how you used the example of opening the door. And so I think it's important that because you do talk about this in your book about there are different cultures. So that's
Yeah.
our culture that we live in. And
Yeah.
so showing respect to from a man to a woman or father to a daughter is
Right.
opening her door. So can you talk a little bit about how this transcends cultures?
Oh wow, that's really, yeah. That's a great question. And respecting the cultures is very, very key as well. First of all, keeping an open mind. And I mean, something as simple as um, when you're walking down the street. So in America, we're walking down the street with a gentleman. Okay, a gentleman would have you walk on the inside of the street. Okay, the inside, like as a female. So he's on the outside where the curve is. Why? Because that's the gentleman's way. And basically, if a car drives by and something comes and hits up, he can protect the female, if you will. Okay, he can protect. If it's raining or whatever, a puddle comes and splashes up, it'll get on him versus on her. You understand? So that's how in America it is, and several other countries as well. But I know America. But it's funny because in was it London or the UK somewhere? I forget the exact country, but it's in the book where it is. So, but they actually have the gentlemen they walk on the inside, so the females on the outside. And I mean, something as simple as the reason why is because how they dump their trash. When they're dumping
Hmm.
trash, they dump their trash like second, third story. They dump it out the window, and the trash falls down into whatever the chute is, and it could pop and plop up. Something that coming pop up. You follow me? So just something that simple. But if you didn't know or understand that, there's lots of other examples, of course. But if you didn't know or understand that, think about it. That's I even go to one of the things that came with me was even in the grocery store. And this is everywhere. We've traveled the world. So you have a basket in the grocery store or any type of store. And you stopping and looking on the shelf. And you're so into what's going on, you're stopping and leaving your cart right in the middle. So now people can't go by, you know, another basket can't get by, just the mere fact of not thinking about our circumstances, where we are, and being able to be mindful and considerate of others while we are in our mind and just delve into what we're looking at, was got our attention on that shelf or on that clothes rack or whatever the case may be. Something that simple. Again, I've seen this across cultures, but we don't think about that and other people and giving them and again, this is just me with the respect, okay? Giving them that respect of being able to walk past without having to touch your cart and move it or
Yeah.
excuse me, do you mind, or that type of stuff. Yes.
Now, I love your book because I love also how you have so many activities. Because it's one thing to read through and go, okay, I get it, I get it, I get it. But I think it's important to take those moments of reflection that you talk about, especially when we look at how we were raised. I want to go back to that because we talk about how this is a wonderful book for teenagers, and the question is, why do parents and teenagers struggle so hard to communicate? Because even with what you were sharing about the differences in cultures, I could be from another country, you could do something, and I find it being very disrespectful. You will never know that
Right.
unless I communicate that to you. And it starts with that parent child relationships. I'd love for you to talk more about that.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you brought that up because a lot of times um, the old school way is that children they're not respected. you know and again, I felt that as a teenager. It's like, well, what about what I think? Because I asked a lot of questions. My mother was not ready for me, and I was her first. Okay. So
Yes.
I still ask a lot of questions. She said, you just ask so many questions, you just can't settle for, hey, I am who I am, you brought me here. Okay. So but, but at the end of the day, just because I'm a teenager asking questions, why shouldn't I also have a level of respect from the adults? Let's think about it, right? So, and I mean, I'll look at youth, period, is showing that respect because that's the one thing is it's like at some point, in America, people had children. It might be in other countries. I know America, people had children,
Mm-hmm.
and they had children to do things on a farm, whatever the case may be, right?
Right.
So whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, when people are really um, looking at each other and showing and giving that respect, it's listening. It's taking that time to listen. So yes, I had questions. What was the problem? Now I know there are times that questions aren't appropriate, like because if it's danger or whatever the case may be. But let's circle back out of respect and love for the people we love. You know what I'm saying? Let's go back to that and let that teenager, that child, that be 5, 6 years old, it doesn't matter, be able to have that space and know that there's value. Because I think that's really what respect is about, is that value and that worth that we give. You understand? So yeah. So when you're talking about teenagers, that's a hard time. It's a lot going on in the teenage world, all the transitions and so forth. Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot. Go ahead. You can say something. I think about my teenagers.
But you're right. And I think what we're seeing too is, if you tell children just to be seen and not heard, if you tell children, you know, you, I remember there was a time I've heard stories where people said that they didn't eat meat. If you talk to my parents' generation, you ate from what was left over of the meat.
Mm-hmm.
There
That's
was
right.
a time, the saying, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Well, that
Right.
was because in the family, you fill the tub of water up first. Daddy took a bath, mama took a bath, and then all the way down to the baby, right? And
Uh,
so that hierarchy also kind of made you feel where you stood. So when you talk about self-respect
mm,
too, so it's
right.
like we're evolving too, and so and I guess we're seeing too with everything that's happening in this country that those evolutions are crashing into each other. Some
Yeah.
people believe one thing and some people believe that. And it
Yeah.
depends on what you look like and all those things. So give us your 2 cents on that.
Ooh, girl, you said a mouthful.
I know,
A
didn't I?
Ooh, yes. That's real. That's real. I look at what happened even with yeah. I just think about the election and what happened with that. And I was just like, wow, if only we could respect each other. If only Democrats could respect the Republicans when the difference is there. And you know what I mean? If
And
only,
vice versa. Yes.
that's exactly vice versa. If only. If only the police, the respect that I remember giving the policemen growing up. And then it's like now it's like, wait a minute, what are you gonna do to my son? You understand? So
Right.
if only, but again, it goes both ways. It goes both ways. And um, I, I think acknowledging that there are differences and that not jumping to a scenario in our heads, because a lot of things that happen they happen from within us, from where we've come from. And when you're connecting with people or engage with people in different ways where they're coming from different backgrounds, is acknowledging that part of it and acknowledging and respecting it. Something as simple as asking a question it is, is showing interest, but and asking a question with the right tonality. We're in love. Let me just put in love. Okay, to something or somebody that's different, not with authority that you're going to do what I say, or because I'm this and that, because I have this. It's a lot for us to actually deal with and to conquer. I feel if we can respect the fact of the differences, okay, to in such a way that we are understanding, like we're asking each other. It's kind of like, I'm African American, okay, yeah, so I don't know how it is to be in a Caucasian household unless I know somebody in Caucasian household, and things are done differently. I recognize things are done differently. Okay, so somebody, me, Terry, I keep it real. Something as simple as a female going to the bathroom, okay, in a public bathroom. I was taught don't sit on the toilet seat. I hang my hand pads over the toilet when I go to the bathroom. Caucasian female, one of my great friends, okay, and she and I have had dialogue talking about the differences, and it's like, oh wow, never thought about that. Never thought about that. She never thought about it. She would always complain about the sprinkle on the seat. Okay. Why are they people? I'm like, huh? I don't know why. I don't get it. But why? Because she was sitting on the seat. Something that simple. Okay. Well, those are differences that we have. And respecting the differences, allowing her to say what she was needed to say. And you get me? We talked about it, is the point. We recognize the differences, okay? And we moved on from there. No love loss, just difference. Does that make sense? So of course, look, I didn't know if I was the one doing the sprinkle because I'll usually wipe it off, but I made sure because of that conversation, I never left a sprinkle. You understand? So, I know that might be too much information for some of y'all, but I do keep it real and raw. People that know me, they know.
No, I really don't think it is too much information. I think it's that's real. I always said, my other mother, Gloria Vincent, that's what I appreciated so much about her, because there were so many things that people failed to say. And I think if you fail to tell people what to expect, then you walk through life blind. And so you lose the opportunity to really learn from other people's experiences. And those experiences aren't always very pretty. And so as a result, you lose the opportunity to really allow people to be genuine. And I'll give you something as simple as, so Gloria used to always say, oh baby, wait till you get in your 40s, and oh, wait till you get in your 50s. And when she got to her 70s, she'd go, oh, getting old is not for the weak. And so I always felt like, okay, I'm gonna love getting older, but when I get there, I better be ready. And so, and as a woman, there's so many things we go through that aren't spoken. And so a lot of young girls will grow up thinking that something's wrong with them, when there really isn't. We've all gone through it, and guess what? It's okay. You'll make it through. We did, so will you. So it's critical, but you're right. It goes down to, do you respect me enough to be authentic with me?
There you go. That's it. That's real. And do you respect yourself enough to be authentic? I'm just saying, yes, that's really, what it's about, because when you put the respect out, it comes back. It's kind of like, the principle, sowing and reaping. Give. You give, it comes back to you. So do you respect yourself enough? Yeah. Think about it. How many people really don't even sit down and think about what it is, that how they want to be treated, but they complain about how they're being treated. They want us to work all these hours. They're not paying us this much money. Why are they doing that to have us here so long? This is ridiculous. They're just complaining. But when you look at, okay, these are all choices that we're in. You found when we found ourselves there. So do we respect ourselves enough to move outside of whatever that complaint is? Okay. And a lot of times, when I say complaint, a lot of times, when people complain, I'm always like, okay, that's good. But you got 3 times to complain to me, because you got to make a difference. You're not coming back to me after the 3rd time, because that means you don't want to do anything different. That means that you just like complaining, and that's not my space in my world. So that's a part of the look. When I say my boundaries about respect, no, you're not going to take my time up with that. You understand? Yeah. But how about you, though? See, we can't make others respect themselves, if that makes sense.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And it's probably a period or unfortunately, people haven't learned, like you said, how to respect themselves. When you think about some people who allow people, like you said, at the 3rd time, that tells me you're disrespecting me, because you're not taking any action to make any difference in your life. I've given you my 2 cents, and you're coming back to me again with the third time. So, how do we help people to be more conscientious? How, because everyone doesn't get the same exposure. And that's one of the things, I always tell people when they, because your book talks about bullying. And so when people are critical of other people, why can't they pull themselves up? Why can't they do this? Why does he smell? Why? Oftentimes, you just haven't been taught. And sometimes our parents, they're doing what they've been taught, and they're doing the best with what they have.
Right.
All the tools that they've been given, they're doing the best with what they got. And so I always tell the story about when I was growing up, my mom, she did all the cleaning and she cleaned out, she did all the dishes. I didn't have chores. And so at the time, it was a great thing, right?
Right.
I had time to do what I wanted to do. But that bit me later, because when I went away to college, I didn't know how to do my laundry. And so no one was going to bully me, fortunately, because I wasn't that type. But nonetheless, I just thought, wow, everybody else knows how to do their laundry. Why don't I? And so you just never know what people have and have not been taught. And doesn't make them a bad person. It maybe it's a teachable moment. So it's an opportunity for you. So tell us a little bit about the bullying, because you talk about that as well.
Yes, that's real. So it's really sad, the whole bullying piece of it, and it comes from again, some any bully of all ages, they're actually putting themselves in a higher position to make themselves feel better. Again, because they have not connected with that inner self, if you will, and respected it. I'm just going to keep it real. Respect, loved it, that inner self. So now making themselves feel better about that because something or somebody is different, especially if they've been taught. A lot of times it's been taught at home. They see bullying happen, even though it's not labeled bullying, but they see that and they just carry that behavior on. Yeah. And that's the thing is, so being able to stand up, because that bullying, it's gotten, it's always been around, but it's been, you hear the suicides and things just because of that. It's gotten to a whole nother level, if you will. Okay. Yeah. A whole nother level. And I think, that's the thing is because we don't take the time, okay, to reflect on ourselves and who we are and what we bring to the table, what God has put each and every one of us. We're here for a purposeful reason, okay? And because there's so many distractions, social media, internet, TV, TV used to be on 24/7 before even the internet, okay? So it's so many things that we are not able to stop and say who we are, why we're here. Again, reflecting on what we see. Does this make sense? Reflecting on this is different. Can I ask this? Reflecting on when I feel a certain way, uneasy because I am different or something I'm not connecting or matching is in love. Okay. I can ask, oh, excuse me, can I move this basket to the side as I'm going by versus, you know what I'm saying? Just, you get what I mean? Is just the difference. Yeah. So I think that's really, the key is, and that's why we included bullying in there, is because there's, again, so the book, just for people that may not know, is I had my own experience with respect, and I had my own experience, but me speaking to others, that's when I recognized, oh my gosh, this is different almost everywhere. Whoever you talk to, it's different. Like my mother was like, I'm not respecting myself because I'm eating a hamburger walking down the street, okay? Versus come sit at the table. Or how many people do you see eating, walking down the street, right? So, it's just, it's bananas. But I say all of that to say is recognizing that part and people taking time, going through the activities, learning like what your feelings and who you are and why do you feel this way? What is going to make you feel respected, loved? When we take that time and know ourselves, that makes the world a whole different place, because then you can communicate it. You can't communicate something that you haven't taken the time to really, figure out. It's kind of like you and a husband and wife. It's like, well, what do you like to do? Well, I like to do what you like to do. Okay. Oh my gosh, what was that movie? The new one just came out with Eddie Murphy.
Coming to America.
Yes. Right. Come to America. It's like, what do you like? What do you like to do? I like to do that. It's like, well, I'd like to be able to help and please you and pour into you too. But if you didn't take the time and know, because you've been studying something else, I just want to do what you do. But who are you?
Right.
Have respect for yourself. Yes.
So Dr. Andrews, we have a question regarding, obviously you mentioned that, you and your mom toggled a little bit. Who were your role models? I mean, how did you learn that this was all about respect?
That's a great question. Great question. My role models. So when you say that, my first thing is always God and Jesus Christ. But that saying back, WWJD, what would Jesus do?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, that's how I live. I live that way. So when you say, and biblically, again, Romans 8:28, all in divine order. Okay, so Romans 8:28, for those that may not know, all things work together for good for those who love the Lord and who are called according to his purpose. So I look at the things that happen, and I know that nothing is by accident. So I think that's my biggest role model is God and Jesus, okay? And then from there, because that's where the love and the light comes. So then from there, there's been people in my life that have shown and given me and poured into me, whether they knew it or not. But I just kind of collectively built, all of that together, if that makes sense. So, yeah.
So in the earthly space, are there any other role models?
I knew you were going to take me there.
And what should people be looking for in a role model? That's one of the reflective questions that you have in your book.
There you go. So always look at whoever I choose as a role model. I have to make sure that they have what I want. Okay. That they're living it. They're not just speaking it. They're living it. What I want. So, which is kind of why when you say like names and things, so I have lots of role models, but for different things, if that makes sense.
Right. Yes.
I could spend the rest of the time here listing off a lot of names. Okay. But it took me a while to recognize that a lot of my role models early on were those that spoke things, but they had never done it. And that makes sense. Yes. You understand? And that took me to a space because I was going places that it was like, wait a minute, this is not where I'm supposed to be, right? Because I'm listening to somebody that has not done and experienced things that way. So I think, that's really key. As I said, I can go and name a lot of people. You're one of my role models. Let's just keep it real, okay? So, we met in the 9th grade, so we've been a long
right.
Yes. But just watching, all the different things that you've done, how you process through and so forth. You're definitely on that list in addition to, like I said, so many people. But I don't have, I've always been different, Terry, okay? I don't have one role model that's my role model.
Right. Very good.
I'm just going to keep it real. Yeah.
But you made a good point there. I mean, especially you were talking about biblically false prophets, people will tell you, and I always tell people, you can't learn how to be a millionaire from someone who's not.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So you really have to be conscious about who you follow. It's like what we tell our children, your friends matter. The people you are around matter.
Exactly.
And especially with our kids, because they will assume that a certain behavior is okay and wonder why they're being treated differently when they exhibit it. So I guess, how do we help our kids do that? Because they're so impressionable and their peers are everything.
Yeah, that's right. That is so true. So true. And I think it's, again, is cultivating that. And I think it goes back to us as parents, as adults, is embracing those differences, embracing that child, giving that time. Time is one of the most valuable commodities, and that's what our youth need is time. Okay, because how can we pour into them? How can we put ourselves in a position that they're going to hear us? Whatever our message is for them, is we have to put that time in with them, i.e., respect them, okay, because they are important. So I think that's the thing, and I say that not lightly, honestly. I'm very serious about that, because the time is what people feel when you're giving them that time. You're giving them that love, that ear. When I say time, you're not telling them, boom, 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 you listen to it. No, you're listening. You're listening to them.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
what you have matters. Everybody has something to give. And what that all matters. I don't care how old they are. You're giving them that time. Yeah. So
I agree. I always say that is one of my takeaways from the pandemic is, I'm in the house with both of my children. My son was transitioning to another state and took a pit stop here, and it's been extended. So that state can get it together. But nonetheless, it's the opportunity. When we have these opportunities, it no doubt it can be frustrating, because some days, I'm an introvert at heart, and so I like my me time. I just want, look, I can't. They'll tell you I drive home into the garage and I sit there.
that's your me time.
My youngest will just come out and go, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm just spending some time with me. I miss me." And so, but at the end of the day, I was in a meeting yesterday where we were talking about how, people were saying, "Oh, I'm looking forward to this event because I'll get a chance to spend time." And I said,
Yes.
yes, take advantage of every opportunity, because it'll come and you'll miss it.
Exactly. That's it. That's it.
And I think too, your book encourages us to look inward too. So while it's written so that anybody can digest it, it
Yeah.
really made me stop and think too about what behaviors am I sharing that my children see, that they're now exhibiting to the world, that would make them feel like they're not being heard or they're being disrespected.
Right. That's real. That's the thing we really don't recognize is we model, period. And it goes so further than that when I think about it. So being in, like you said, parents, what we model and what we're putting out there. Uh-oh. What did I do? I hear an echo. Wait a minute. Okay. Do you hear the echo, or is that just me?
I think it's just you. You're fine.
So when I look at that, I'm like, okay, wait a minute. What happened? Let me decide. What happened with the whole thing of modeling? So where modeling comes from is everywhere. Like being an African American female, I recognize I was in situations where I was around people who never dealt with African American female, especially with love. Okay, so I took it as my time. Like what I had to do, I had to actually, in fact, see, we got lost, we got a technical piece. I can't do two things like that. So I took it very seriously to be able to let people know that are different than I am how we are. Okay, how we are. So I had to model how African American females, because you see them one way, how you're told, you see them on, I don't know, TV, whatever the experience is. Okay, but when we are modeling, and again, because I do respect the fact of how God brought me here, And I want to be able to reflect that with people that don't know me like that, or don't know my culture, don't know African American females, other than what they've heard their families talk about or whatever. And this is, again, we talk about across culture as well. Yeah. So I think if all of us took that level of respect and stepped up to do certain things, I really feel like the world would be a much better place.
Yeah. And so we have a question. How can we improve the respect that we present to each other between the races?
Oh, I love that question. What do you think? What were you going to say? So what?
I was watching something the other day. Oh, it was Morgan Freeman. And he said something that was so insightful to me. And it was, I can't remember what anchor or news person he was talking to. And he said, stop acknowledging that there's a difference. He said, stop referring to me as a black man.
Hello.
Why can't you just refer to me as a man? And I won't refer to you as a white man. I won't go, oh, there's this white Jewish man. He said, if we can just see each other as a man, and I think some people will say, because we're in a period now where people say, stop acknowledging me as, stop putting a label on me anyway. Just acknowledge me as this living, breathing being, male, female, transgender, whatever I choose to be. Just acknowledge and respect me for who I am and who I present to you.
A child of God. Yes. A child. That's real.
Yes.
It's funny that well, you know me, when I had my son, when raising him, I never said black and white. I always said light skin and dark skin. And that included everybody.
Okay.
Everybody. So Caucasians were light skin, okay? As well as the Sweeper, and anybody in between, light skin or dark skin, because I didn't want to see that. I didn't, black and white, Chinese, it just, we are all, look, God's people. As I said, is at the end of the day, you cut the skin, what's going to come out?
Right.
Red blood, okay? If all of us sit in a place, okay, if we sit somewhere, like let's just say we're somewhere for 2 weeks, a week, whatever the case, and we eat the exact same thing, guess what? Our boo-boo is going to smell the same too. It's going to look and smell the same. I don't care what this looks like. You understand? So we are all children of God, and that's the whole thing. I mean,
keep it real, Dr. Andrews. Keep it real.
I'm just saying.
So Sally wants to know how she can get your book.
Oh, hey, Sally. Thank you, lady. So you can go to Amazon.com, and look up Respect, What Does It Mean to You by Dr. Monica Andrews. Or you can go to DivineOrderNetwork.com, and it'll take you to the link to Amazon as well. Yes. And Terry, we can't forget to tell them about the group, the Respect private Facebook group. That's their Respect. Look for that group as well. It's in the book also. But you want to go and join that group because we want to have these type of discussions so that we can really, it takes like each of us to step up and do something and make the world better. And how do we do that? Again, going within ourselves and working with each other and dialoguing with each other, ongoing. How are we going to get the police to respect us? It's a tall chore, okay? But they haven't read the book, okay? They haven't gone. They have not gone into themselves, okay?
That's right. That's right.
Who are you protecting?
That's right. That's right.
But it's this discussion, though. I think that's really it. Is discussion with each other. So so go to Amazon.com, and you can go to Amazon.com/author/divine order, and you'll see all the books there. You can click on the Respect one, and then you can go to DivineOrderNetwork.com. Oh, you're supposed to put that across the thing, aren't you? DivineOrderNetwork.com, and there we go, and get the book itself. Yes. So.
Yes.
Thanks for asking great questions. Where are you seeing these questions, Terry?
in the comments.
Right. Yes, indeed.
So,
I'm glad to be working with you, sis. This is want you to know
oh, wonderful.
that.
So I just want to say, Monica and now Dr. Andrews, I have loved, and you are truly a role model for me as well. And so I think we both just helped and watched each other grow, watch each other make our mistakes, and always kept each other lifted. And I think friendships like ours are powerful because they do allow you to. I have nothing but the utmost respect for you. And so, and there are a lot of things that, I didn't learn growing up that I learned from you. And so I encourage people to join this group, make respect a topic of your network. Are you being respectful, and are people being respectful of you? And Dr. Andrews, just want you to just wrap it all up for everybody and just,
Wow.
let them know. Take them out.
I thank you so much for those kind words. I sit here and I think about, we go way back, and I really appreciate that. I think that's why we've been friends for so long, is that we respected each other, and we have a lot of differences, but we talk about them. You've helped me through the years see things in different perspectives and in other eyes, and which has made me a better person. And, as you say, vice versa. The mere fact that we respect each other and the differences and listen and hear that, and no judgment. So who are we to judge? You understand? No judgment. I think that's it. As the Bible says, when I can't remember, with the speck in your eye, why am I talking about the speck in your eye when I have the plank in mine? Well, let's work together, okay, to get everything out of our eyes. You understand? Because all of us have something in our eyes based on how we've been brought up, okay, the things that come with us. But when we come now, we're interacting with each other, those that are similar, same cultures and cross cultures, generations and cross generations. At the end of the day, leaving open dialogue and being honest with each other on that, and respecting that honesty and the differences. I think that's the key. But you can't do that until you go within. Because if you don't have anything to offer, like, what is it? What is respect to you? What does that look like and mean to you? That's so key, because once you know what it is to you, you can communicate that to others. And when you communicate that to others, okay, then they can do better, because now we know. I can't do something I don't know about because I don't understand it.
Right.
Yes. When we make it clear, see, I think it's on both sides. When we make it clear. So I encourage our viewers, what do we call them? Guests. What is this? We have
our guests.
This is my first time doing something like this. So I really thank you for that. Look, I respect the fact of, like you said, you got to go out there and open. So I respect you being my social media marketing manager, which I love. Yes, you're the best.com, the bomb.com. Yes, I respect what you say and the things, because I know what you put into it, Miss PhD. Okay, so yes.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
I love you, Dr. Andrews, and thank you so much for this lively and frank conversation. And I know we look forward to seeing everyone that's joined us today in the group as well.
Yes. Please ask your questions in the private group respect. Go in there. Let's dialogue. Let's do this again. If this was good for you, let's do it again as well. Okay. Yeah. Much love. God bless. Enjoy. Stay safe. Yeah.